Hey guys, Andrew Davidson here, and welcome back to another As Per My Ability video. Now, in most of my videos, I like to look at narrative in games, narrative games, storybook games, campaign games. This video is going to be very different. This is going to be a video that is going to show an overview of a game, and I'm also going to show you a little bit of me playing it solo. There's a game that's come onto my radar recently that I've really enjoyed. It's been out for a while, but I've just recently picked it up, started messing around with it. You can play the solo mode, which you'll see me do in a little bit. And that game is Welcome to Your Perfect Home. Now, Welcome to, which is what it's shortened to by gamers, Welcome to is what they call a flip and fill game, which means you will be flipping cards and you will be filling in boxes with check marks or numbers or anything like that. It's a flip and fill game. So why don't you stay tuned, and I'll show you a little bit about how the game works and how to play it solo with my solo play. This is Welcome to Your Perfect Home setup for a multiplayer game. Now, before I continue on, I must note that the playmat that is being used in this video does not come with the game. This is something that I purchased separately. So how to set up for a multiplayer game of Welcome to Your Perfect Home. The first thing that you're going to want to do is separate all of these cards, these numbered cards, into 3 equal decks and place them side by side like that. The second thing that you're going to do is you will pick at random your objectives. You will have an N1 card, and which I will slide over here because I'm using the playmat, but it will go somewhere on the table. Your N2 card, which will go here, and your N3 card. These are your objectives. These are the things that you're trying to work towards in the game because they give you points if you get them. If you're the first person to get them, you get this number. If you're the second person, you get the lower number. Then the last thing that everyone needs is basically a neighborhood and a pretty jazzy looking pen like this to mark on their board or on their sheet. Now, the theme of Welcome to Your Perfect Home, as you can see, is you are living in the 1950s trying to build a pretty nice little suburban community here by putting numbers in houses, building pools, building parks on your streets, upgrading the real estate, and doing all of that to collect points. And at the end, there's this sort of algebra equation, I guess, where you add things and you minus things, and then you come up with a score. So the winner of the game is the person that has the highest score right here. There are 3 ways for the game to end, which I'm going to use this playmat as a teaching guide. Right here it says the game ends when one player builds all of their houses. I'll leave this out. So if there's something in every single one of these houses, the game is over. I have played this game a few times. I have not once seen the game end that way, but apparently it's possible. The second way is if a single player completes all 3 of these city plans. Those are the objectives that I was talking about a few minutes ago. And those would go here. So if I do N1, N2, and N3, I've triggered the end of the game. Also, the game can end if a player cannot build 3 times. So when you build, which I'll get into in a moment, you have to place your numbers appropriately. If there is no action that you can take, you have to fill in this section right here, which minuses you points eventually. If someone places for the 3rd time, then that ends the game. If they cannot place for the 3rd time, that would end the game. And so there's all these things here. This is your neighborhood. The very last thing you do before you start the game is everyone is going to name their little neighborhood. Welcome to the jungle. Gets worse here every day. And so that's the setup for a multiplayer game. How the game works is every round, it feels a little bit like bingo. I tell people it's bingo. The game is bingo, but not bingo. Every round, you're going to take and you're going to flip over every one of these cards that gives basically a set of a number and an action. Now, what you have to do on your turn, or I guess turns are taken simultaneously in this game, is that you have to take one of the columns, the 10 and this, the 12 and this, or the 4 and this. You cannot take the 10 and this or anything like that. You have to take one of the columns. in the multiplayer game anyways. And so how it works is you always have to place your number first. So going back to our score pad, our pad, you would pick a number. So let's say I want to take the 4. I would place the 4 in one of the homes. So I'd place like a 4 here, and I would write in a 4, and I usually like to kind of black outline the house so that I see it as a 4 here. Well, I'm also taking the pool ability. Now pools, you can build pools in pool spots. However, all of the all of the actions here are completely optional. So I could build the 4 in a house that does not have a pool, but I do want to build in a place that has a pool because A, I get to fill in the pool here, which is incredibly satisfying, and B, I get to mark off the first box, which means at the end of the game I'm going to score 3 points for pools instead of 0. And so that's what I do. That's what everyone does. They pick a number, they pick an action, or they take the corresponding action. It's optional. They don't have to take it. And then we flip again. So the flip and fill is complete. Everyone just does their thing and flips, and then you fill in your board. Now let me talk about some of the actions and how the board works before I kind of wrap up this part and go into the solo play. So as you see here, all of the numbers you have 3 streets. All of your numbers have to go from lowest to highest. The numbers in the game, which are denoted right here, are 1 to 15. 1 through 15. So if I put a 15 here in this location, I can now not build anything here. Or if I put a 1 here, I could not build. So it has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it has to go higher. Now keep in mind the numbers do not have to be consecutive. You could have a 2 here and then jump to a 4, but you have now blocked off the 3 from being placed anywhere here. You would have to, if you wanted to take a 3 that came up, you would have to place the 3 somewhere else. So with going over that, that's how the numbering system works. Lowest to highest. So you want your 15s over here, you want your 1s and 2s over here, and then there's a lot of middles. There's a lot of 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s in the middle. And so that's how that works with the numbering. So let's talk about the actions. And I'm going to, again, use the playmat to help me kind of illustrate some of the actions. So we already talked about the pool. So let's kind of go back to the pool one. When you build a pool, if you build it in a house that has a pool on it, as you can see, some of them have pools, some of them don't. Now, it's not a requisite. You don't have to build on a spot that has a pool, but if, like I said, if you do, you get what I call pool points. So like I said, we built our 4 and a pool, and so then you mark off these boxes, and they get higher as you go, 13 points, 17 points, 21, things like that. So the more pools that you build, the more pool points you're going to get. So that's one of the things you can take, the actions that you can take in the game. Another one is you can build a fence on any street. So again, the first thing that you would do is you would place your number. So like, let's say there was a fence with this one. I would maybe place the 1 here, and then I could put a fence up and down vertical on any of these dotted lines. And so let's say I would fill in a fence like right here, like to make it like big black spot. Now I know you're thinking, okay, so what are we building fences? What are the fences for? Well, if you can refer to these cards, a lot of these objectives will have what I call communities. That's not what they're called in the game, so I know, please don't leave any comments in the video, but I call them communities. So if you can get a community of 6, 2, and 1, you will complete this objective. Now, be mindful, all of the houses in these communities have to have numbers in them. So they cannot be just blank houses. So building walls or felt fences or whatever helps you try to get some of these objectives completed. As you can see, this one here has 5, a 2, and a 2 for 10 points. And so that is the fence. Now when you build, you can build the fence anywhere you want on your board. So like I said, I put the 1 here, but I could build the fence anywhere. anywhere on the board. And that's important for me to note because there are some, like the pools, that are connected, and there are some that are not connected, like the fence. The fence is not connected with the number. You don't have to put the fence where you put the number. Okay, cool. Let's move on. So parks. Parks are located up here on each street. They will give you, based on how many parks you build, they will give you more points the more that you build at the end of the game. Now, parks do have a little bit of a requisite because you cross off on the street that you place it in. So let's say I took the 1, but then I also had a park. You know, pretend that I had a park card here. I would have the 1 here, and then I would mark the park and do that on the street that I placed it. And so there is a little bit of a limitation on the parks, unlike the fences that can go anywhere. Now, if I would have placed the 1 here, I would have to build the park here, because you always build the park in the street that you place your number. And so those are the parks. The most difficult part of the game is the real estate, the estate sizes. So I'm going to come back to them and do them last, because some of these other ones are a little easier. This one I call construction. It's actually like hiring a temp, but I just call it construction because it's easy for people to remember. It's right here. And what it does is it increases your number by +1 or -1, or you can keep it the same. So, for example, if I were to take the 8 and I had this construction here, I could turn this 8 into a 9, or I could turn it into a 7, or I could keep it as an 8. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, sometimes you can get a little, once your board fills up, it can get a little messy, and you're going to want to keep placing things. So that 8 might not be beneficial to you, but man, oh, if I could turn it into a 9 would really work. So you would do that. Every time that you do take a temp or a construction, you're going to fill in one of these, because at the end of the game, whoever has the most of these will get 7 points. Whoever has the second most will get 4, and then 1 point. So there is a little bit of benefit to doing the construction type things. All right, so then let's go over here to what's called the biz. Biz is a little bit difficult to understand. It's basically duplicate any house, not just the one that you built. So we have an example right here of a number 1 and a biz. So what I do is you always place your number first. So I place my number 1 right here, and then the biz allows me to copy another number for free. So essentially you get to place 2 numbers. So I'm placing my 1, and then I'm also going to place a 4 right here next to another 4. Now I have to be adamant about this. This is normally not allowed in the game. You have to place less than 4 or higher than 4. But because I am using a biz, I am using a special action to essentially break the game. When I do it, I put the 4 down, and then I also write in a little b, or however you want, to remember that I used a business or a biz in order to do this illegal action, so to speak. Now the biz sounds great, right? But excuse me, on your sheet you are going to have to mark off on your biz, and the more biz that you use, the more minus that you're going to have, minuses on your score. So it can help you in a pinch, but I would never recommend using more than 1 biz in a game if you can help it, because they all minus you. All right, on to the last one. Like I said, the estate. The estate is the most complicated that I've seen when I've taught this game, and I've taught it to a couple of people within the last week. The estates are right here, and they basically make your communities worth more points. So you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So when you take what I call the upgrade action right here, I call it the upgrade, you're upgrading your communities. So if I had, let's say, a community of 2 right here, see, I got a 2 community. I could also take this action and I can upgrade my 2 communities. So that way, instead of scoring 2 points at the end of the game, I will mark this off, they will score 3 points. And then again, if I were to take it again, now they're scoring 4 points. And you can do that for your 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, or 6s. I really like this mechanism. I really think upgrading is where it's at as far as the limited amount of times that I've been able to play this. I think that this is really good. Going for your objectives obviously really helps out. It moves the game forward towards ending the game, but I really enjoy this aspect that they put in here, being able to have a big 6. Like if I have a 6-house community, I can upgrade it all the way up to being 12 points. Well, if I get 2 6s, well, that's 12 times 2. You know, those are some really great points. So at the end of the game, which, as I've said, is triggered by one of these 3 ways, everyone will then add up. They'll look at their sheet and they will add everything up, giving out the construction bonus based on who has the most, doing a little bit of simple multiplication math here, multiplying by whatever numbers they are, minusing if they have any minuses here, and then they will come up with a score in the corner. Whoever has the highest score wins. And so this is how the game works with a multiplayer setup. Okay, so now that we've talked about multiplayer, let's talk about how this game plays solo. When you set up a solo game, you are going to pick out your city cards or your objectives randomly and fill them out on the table. Also in solo mode, you're going to take the game cards and split them into 2 even decks. You're going to take this card here, which looks like this, and place it on top of one of the decks, and then you will give it a quick mix. Let me do this on camera. Just kind of give it a quick mix, and then you are going to place it down in a spot here. You'll give this one a quick mix as well, however you want, and you will place it on top. So in the solo game, you will have one giant pile, as opposed to the multiplayer game where you will have 3 piles. Everything else is still the same so far. All of the actions that I've already talked about work exactly the same in the solo version. These work the same in the solo version, and the game ends the same in the solo version. Your board is still the same. You're going to name your board. And so I'm going to show you how to play solo and take you through a couple of solo turns. And then I think I'm going to turn the camera off and then just finish out the game on my own without the camera around. So how solo works is I'm going to name my city first per my ability. So I name my city APMA as per my ability. This is my town. And when you play solo or solitaire, instead of doing the columns thing like the multiplayer game goes, you are going to be setting out 3 cards. And I like to just kind of set them out like this. Now what you get to do on solo play is you get to take the number of a card and the action of another card. You cannot take the action of the card that you're taking the number from. So I usually like to flip the card over to show me that I'm taking that action. So let's say I want to take, I think I want to take the 4. And for my action, I'm going to take the construction. So sometimes to help me, I'll just flip over this to show I'm taking the construction. So then I would fill out my board. I'm going to make that a 4. I can keep it a 4 because remember the construction could make it a 5 or could make it a 3. So I'm going to make it a 4 right here. I filled in my house, and then I've just kind of, I'm really sloppily doing this, filled in my construction. In solo mode, you need to get, I believe, 6 of these in order to get the 7 points, because normally in multiplayer you're competing with other people to see who has the most construction things. Not in the solo mode. In the solo mode you're just trying to get 6 if you want these points at all. So that's essentially the turn. When you are done, you're going to completely clear the whole setup, I guess, of your 3 cards, and then you will place another 3 out like this. And so now I have my 4 and my construction, I guess. And so then you look at your next setup, a 6, an 8, and an 8. So I could take an 8 and use the pool, or I could take this 8 and use the fence. Well, I really like pools, so I'm going to flip this to show I'm going to use a pool. And I could use a 6 or an 8. I'm going to place the 8 here with the pool, kind of outline my house just so it pops, and then fill in the pool because they do have a pool. And again, you do not have to build a pool. I could have placed my 8 anywhere and just ignored the pool. They're completely optional. But again, pool points, since I built a pool, I get to mark down here. So I have now taken this 8 with this action. And again, that's it. We'll do a couple more rounds to see what comes up, and then I think I'm going to continue on playing and let you all get back to whatever you were doing. And so again, when you're playing, these objectives are something you want to keep in mind because you're going through the cards much faster. You're going through 3 of them when you play solo, and whenever you get to that card, the special one that's buried in here, whenever that one pops, you will then flip over all of these to the approved side, which, as you can see now, the numbers of them are much less. So early bird gets the worm. If you can get to these objectives before that card comes out, you can get a much higher score. But when that card comes out, you've waited too long, you can still do the objective, don't get me wrong, but you're going to get much less points for doing it. So you continue on until either the deck runs out or any of the normal winning conditions, or sorry, not winning, game ending conditions. If you get all 3 of these done, regardless of whatever side they're on, that will end the game. If you have one in every single city or every single house, that will end the game. Or if you cannot place 3 times, that will also end your solo game. All of the actions still work the same. I've already talked about the temp thing and how that works when you play solo, but everything else is still the same. You'll be setting out three cards, taking the number from one card and taking the action from another card and filling it on your board. So that's how Welcome to Your Perfect Home plays solo. I've really been enjoying it. The game also comes with kind of a cool, as you can see, I'll show it on camera here in a second, kind of a cool little achievement thing of achievements that you can do. As you can see, I've done a few of them, and I'm working towards getting all of them done. And so that's kind of fun to do the achievements by having a game where you don't use a certain thing, or you fill up all of one thing, or you have, just different things like that. And so here's how you play Welcome to Your Perfect Home multiplayer, how you set it up, and kind of how you play it solo. So everyone, thanks for watching. I'm going to continue on playing my game. I'm going to place my 8, and I'm going to put my fence somewhere where I can hopefully best get one of these objectives done as quick as possible. And so that's going to be it for me. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question. We love it when people say hi, so don't be afraid to say hi. So that's all. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.